Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of the Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. You guys get the book. I put a link in the description, or get it from your library just like I did. I don't make any money from this link. It's an Amazon link, straight direct. I make no proceeds. I get nothing from it. So please support this book. It is such a transformational book and I really love it. And that's why I've been talking about it for many weeks. So we've been talking about the lucid self and the programming that we have and how it affects our awareness. Like, are you aware that you're aware of awareness? And if you haven't been caught up, go watch those other videos, because quite frankly, there's a lot of information that has been there. And every time I try to recap it, I'm just like, oh my God, what are we talking about for the past like 10 videos? Okay, just go watch them. So today, I was actually struggling on which paragraph I wanted to share, because I'm usually doing only 3 or 2 paragraphs, because I want you guys to read the book. Like, I don't want to just read the book to you guys. Like, I just want the parts that have really impacted me to share that with you guys and then give you guys my thoughts. And so because of that, this is actually going to be a 4-parter. So I'm going to share both of them with you, one this week and one next week. So this one is actually going to be 4 parts, but this next paragraph really just kicked me in the teeth. All right. So the lost soul is a consciousness that has dropped into the place where one's human thoughts, emotion, and sensory perception of sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell are all synchronized. All these messages come back to one spot. Then the consciousness, which is capable of being aware of anything, makes the mistake of focusing on that one spot too closely. When the consciousness gets sucked in, it no longer knows itself as itself. It knows itself as the objects it is experiencing. In other words, you perceive yourself as these objects. You think you are the sum of your learned experiences. So I did a meditation from Bob Proctor. I want to say maybe a year ago, it was August of last year, around that time, because I remember the leaves were changing, so it was last year. And he brought up a good point, is that, you know, when you say that you are this person, right? And we've talked about this in previous videos, but he's like, you know, it's like, oh, you know, you have a hand. Nobody says, I am hand. Nobody says, I am, you know, chest. I am heart. No, I am. And the person that's inside of you is kind of just driving this meat sack of a vehicle. So you're not your hand. You have a vehicle. You know, you aren't your name, but you have a name. These are things that you possess. These are objects. And I remember when I thought that, when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's like, I never thought of that. But the other thing is that oftentimes when I'm having a strong emotion, like when I'm upset and I say, I am angry, I've recently been taking a step back and saying, I feel anger. Because I'm not anger itself. Oh my God, could you imagine the fucking responsibility of being pure anger itself? Could you imagine the responsibility of being pure, like any emotion in itself? Like, whoa, that would be a big fucking burden. The point is that you experience these emotions, you experience the outside world, you experience situations, you experience people, you experience all the other things that are outside, and you're just aware of them. You're just experiencing them. So what they call a lost soul is somebody who has basically tied themselves to that experience, identified as that experience, and do not let go. Like, you hold on to it with fists and you just, this is me and that's it. Now, you probably know somebody like this. Somebody who had something done to them, and that is their life. They always tie it back to that one instance. They always tie it back to that one thing that happened to them. Now, I'm not saying that it's a traumatic thing. It could be scoring 4 touchdowns in one football game for Polk High School, and that is the thing that defines them. It could be something traumatic. It could be something good. It could be, reliving the past, but it also could be the way that they view themselves in the future. Like, I am a successful entrepreneur, but they just cannot let go of this idea that they're an entrepreneur when they are just not doing the things that they need to be doing as an entrepreneur. And so it comes down to this idea that you have latched on to something. I am just angry. That's how I've been. That's how it will always be. How many times have you heard, well, that's just the way I am. Take it or leave it. This is who I am. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. How many times have you heard somebody say those things? It's because they have latched on to the physical or to the experience of being in the physical, and they cannot let go. Now, why? I can only guess, but the other side of letting go of that thing, you have to start to confront, who am I? Which is a fucking heavy question. Not everybody can figure that out. Not everybody wants to figure that out. Not everybody has the capacity to figure that out. But whatever reason, they have latched on to this idea that they can't change because this identity is who they are. We got the people who, identify as only a mother and then ruin relationships because they can't identify as a partner anymore. We have people who can only identify as their career, and if they lose their job, they lose their mind, spiral into addiction. And I know addiction isn't caused by losing your job. I'm just saying that they they start to self-medicate in other ways. So the point is that when you start to see that you can detach from these things, like right now, I present as a woman, as a mother who is sitting on this couch in a sweater, who has tattoos, but you know what? I was still me before I had my daughter. I was still me before I put these clothes on. I was still me before I, started recording this video. I was still me before, when I was a kid. I was still me with all this other stuff. I have to release the past in order to be able to be in the present. So I had to get out of my pajamas and put on my sweater and my clothes for the day. I had to let go of being a woman with no children to be a woman with a child. I had to let go of being single to be with a boyfriend. I had to let go of having a boyfriend to be a woman with a wife. I had to let go of being off camera and be on camera. So there's a sense of always letting go so that you can move to the next thing. And there are some people who just cannot do that. There's some people, and that's what he's calling a lost soul, is somebody who has attached themselves so viscerally to this life that if you challenge that, if you tell them there's another way, if you show them there's another way with logic, with emotion, whatever, they will fight you to keep hold of it. They will literally fight and kick and scream and call you names and to stay locked in that identity because that's what defines them. And when you're trying to pry them away from identity, from who they are, they're gonna fight to keep it because this is who they are. But that's one of the things to look out for when you're talking to people is, do they feel like that is the thing that that defines them? Do they have this language of, this is who I am, this is who I've always been, and I'm never going to change, or I can't change, or I don't want to change, or this is never going to change? Is that the language that they're using? Then you know that their identity is tied to the physical, while yours might be coming to life. Maybe you're awakening. I don't know. Maybe you're watching this and being like, shut the fuck up, Andy. I don't know. My point is that this is what Michael is calling a lost soul. And sometimes I bump up against that with other people who aren't awakened. Sometimes I'm not awake and somebody will try to present me with an alternative reality, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy, that's not real, that's not true, and I will fight to keep the way that I see things the way that they are, because to me that is my comfort zone, that's my program, that's how I operate, this is how I know things to be. And when you try to move that out of my field of vision, it's like, no, I'm comfortable there, I want that, don't try to move it. I try to be a little bit more open-minded, but it's really hard sometimes because you slip back into it. Well, I slip back into it from time to time. So it's really good to be reading a book like this, and I highly recommend that you buy this book by Michael A. Singer called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. Okay, so the link is in the description. Check it out. I'm going to put another video up next week about chapter 4, and that's going to conclude this book for us because you guys need to read it. I'm not going to do the whole book. I'm only doing the first 4 chapters, which is the first section. The other thing is I put a link in the description to my book written by me. It's called Writing for My Life. It is techniques on how to journal. Journaling has been pivotal in my awakening. It has helped me through different parts of my life, whether it was good or whether it was challenging. You know, I think that writing is a very good tool along with prayer and meditation, but that's a different thing. So buy my book, buy this book, and also check out my podcast. The link is in the bio too. Right? Love you guys.